Imagine a time when Egypt was ruled not by kings but by queens so powerful that even centuries of patriarchy couldn't erase their legacies. These women weren't just consorts or regents, they were warriors, master politicians, and gods on earth. Today, we are uncovering the fascinating stories of Egypt's forgotten female pharaohs. Each one left an indelible mark on history. Stay with us as we dive into their incredible lives and achievements, some of which have only recently come to light. Welcome to Infinitia Verity, where we uncover the forgotten truths of history. In this episode, we'll explore the female rulers of ancient Egypt whose stories have been buried in the sands of time. From the very first queen to rule Egypt to the infamous Cleopatra, these women were true pioneers. Let's journey through ancient history to uncover the lives of the powerful women who shaped one of the greatest civilizations in the world. Merneith, around 3200 to 2900 BCE, Egypt's first female pharaoh. Our journey starts at the dawn of ancient Egyptian civilization with the enigmatic Merneith. Born into the royal family during the first dynasty, Merneith was the wife of Pharaoh Jet and the mother of Pharaoh Den. What makes Merneith's story so fascinating is the possibility that she may have ruled Egypt as its first female pharaoh over 5,000 years ago. While there is still some debate among Egyptologists about whether Merneith was a full-fledged pharaoh or simply a powerful queen, her burial arrangements suggest that she was much more than a mere consort. Her tomb in Abydos, which closely resembles the tombs of male pharaohs, contained elaborate grave goods and offerings. This indicates she was highly revered and considered worthy of the same honors as male rulers. Additionally, stelae or stone slabs bearing her name have been discovered at her tomb, further suggesting her importance. Merneith's rule would have been during a time when Egypt was still in the process of unifying its northern and southern regions. As the mother of Pharaoh Den, it's believed that she acted as regent until her son was old enough to rule. Her leadership during this period of consolidation was critical in stabilizing the newly unified kingdom of Egypt. Interesting fact: Merneith's tomb was discovered with boats buried alongside it, a symbol of the pharaoh's divine journey into the afterlife. This honor was typically reserved for male kings, highlighting her unique status. Another interesting fact: while Merneith is not officially listed in some ancient records, such as the Abydos King List, her name appears in other significant documents, including the Saqqara King List, raising the intriguing possibility that Egypt's earliest rulers may have had more female leaders than previously acknowledged. Sobekneferu, from 1806 to 1802 BCE, the first definitively proven female pharaoh. Next, we arrive at Sobekneferu, a female pharaoh from Egypt's 12th dynasty who reigned during the Middle Kingdom. Sobekneferu was the daughter of Pharaoh Amenemhat III and the sister of Amenemhat IV, whose reign was cut short. With no male heirs, Sobekneferu took the throne, becoming the first woman in history whose reign as pharaoh is conclusively documented. Sobekneferu's name means the beauty of Sobek, a reference to the crocodile god Sobek, who was revered as a symbol of strength and power. This association with Sobek, a deity associated with the might of the Nile, may have been an intentional strategy to bolster her authority. She ruled for only about 4 years, but in that time, she was able to solidify her place in history by continuing the architectural and cultural advancements initiated by her predecessors. Despite the brevity of her reign, Sobekneferu left a lasting impression. Archaeological discoveries suggest she completed the construction of her father's pyramid complex at Hawara. She also continued his legacy by expanding temple complexes in Fayum, a region that was key to Egypt's agricultural success. Interesting fact: Sobekneferu was one of the few female pharaohs to use the full pharaonic titulary, adopting the Horus name and titles traditionally reserved for male rulers. Her statues, however, depict her in a blend of masculine and feminine styles, representing both a king and a queen. Another interesting fact: unlike many other Egyptian rulers, there is no known tomb for Sobekneferu. It remains one of the great mysteries of ancient Egypt, sparking speculation about the circumstances of her death and the possible location of her burial site. Hatshepsut, from 1479 to 1458 BCE, the pharaoh who defied all expectations. Arguably the most famous of all Egypt's female pharaohs, Hatshepsut reigned during the 18th dynasty and is remembered as one of the most successful rulers in Egyptian history. Initially ruling as regent for her stepson Thutmose III, Hatshepsut took the unprecedented step of declaring herself pharaoh, ruling Egypt for over 20 years. Hatshepsut's reign is notable for the peace and prosperity it brought to Egypt. She embarked on a series of monumental building projects, including the construction of her iconic mortuary temple at Deir el-Bahri, one of the architectural marvels of the ancient world. Hatshepsut also revitalized trade, most famously launching an expedition to the land of Punt, a mysterious kingdom likely located in modern-day Somalia or Eritrea. The expedition returned with vast quantities of gold, ivory, myrrh trees, and exotic animals, greatly enriching Egypt. Hatshepsut's rise to power was not without controversy. She often depicted herself in male attire, complete with a false beard, to legitimize her rule in a society that typically saw kingship as a male role. Despite this, her reign was one of the most peaceful and prosperous in Egyptian history. Interesting fact, Hatshepsut's expedition to Punt is one of the earliest recorded trade missions in history. The reliefs in her temple at Deir el-Bahri depict detailed scenes of the journey, including the trees and animals they brought back, offering historians a glimpse into the international trade networks of ancient Egypt. Another interesting fact, after Hatshepsut's death, her stepson Thutmose III ordered that her name and images be erased from monuments, a deliberate attempt to diminish her legacy. However, modern archaeology has restored her rightful place as one of Egypt's greatest rulers. Nefertiti, who lived from 1370 to 1330 BCE, is perhaps one of the most iconic figures of ancient Egypt, largely due to her famous bust that resides in the Neues Museum in Berlin. She was the great royal wife of Akhenaten, the pharaoh who upended centuries of tradition by introducing a monotheistic religion centered on the worship of the sun god Aten. Nefertiti's power extended far beyond the role of a royal consort. Together with Akhenaten, she played a crucial role in the religious revolution that saw Egypt shift from its traditional polytheistic beliefs to the worship of a single god. Some scholars suggest that after Akhenaten's death, Nefertiti may have ruled Egypt in her own right as pharaoh under the name Neferneferuaten. While the exact details of her rule remain debated, recent studies suggest that she may have been one of the last rulers before the rise of Tutankhamun. During her reign, Nefertiti was known for her influence in both political and religious matters. Depictions of Nefertiti show her performing pharaonic rituals, which was highly unusual for a queen. This suggests she wielded significant power not just behind the throne, but as a ruler in her own right. Interesting fact, Nefertiti's famous bust, discovered in 1912, is one of the most copied works of ancient Egyptian art. Despite this, her tomb has never been found and her mummy has yet to be definitively identified, adding to the mystery surrounding her life and death. Another interesting fact is that Nefertiti is often shown wearing a unique blue crown known as the Nefertiti cap crown, which has no equivalent in male royal attire. This distinct crown may have been a symbol of her unique status as both a queen and possibly a pharaoh. Moving forward to the end of the 19th dynasty, we meet Tawosret, the last ruler of her dynasty. Tawosret began her rule as the regent for the young king Siptah, but after his untimely death she declared herself pharaoh and ruled Egypt for several years. Her reign was marked by political instability and challenges from rival factions. Tawosret's rule came at a time when Egypt was already in decline, and her reign was fraught with difficulties. Despite these challenges, she managed to assert her authority and governed Egypt for several years. Her mortuary temple at Thebes was designed to rival those of her male predecessors, and archaeological evidence suggests that Tawosret took the title of king rather than queen. However, her reign ended abruptly when Setnakta, the founder of the 20th dynasty, overthrew her. Although Tawosret's time on the throne was relatively short, her efforts to maintain her power in a turbulent time demonstrate her political acumen. The fact that she ruled as pharaoh and not just as regent is evidence of her determination to maintain her authority in a male-dominated political landscape. Interesting fact, Tawosret was one of the few female rulers in ancient Egypt who constructed her own royal tomb in the Valley of the Kings, typically reserved for male pharaohs. Another interesting fact is that after Tawosret's reign ended, her successor Setnakta tried to erase her legacy. He repurposed many of her monuments and even had his own image inscribed over hers on royal temples, making it difficult for historians to reconstruct her reign accurately. No discussion about the female rulers of Egypt would be complete without Cleopatra VII, the last pharaoh of Egypt. Unlike the other rulers mentioned, Cleopatra's fame is universal, but her true political and intellectual accomplishments are often overshadowed by her romantic liaisons with Julius Caesar and Mark Antony. However, Cleopatra was more than just a famous lover. She was a brilliant diplomat, skilled in naval warfare, and fluent in several languages. Cleopatra's reign marked the end of the Ptolemaic dynasty and the Hellenistic period in Egypt. After her father, Ptolemy XII Auletes, died, Cleopatra co-ruled with her younger brother, Ptolemy XIII, whom she eventually had killed in a civil war for control of the throne. Her ability to manipulate Roman politics to her advantage allowed her to maintain Egypt's independence for decades, even as Rome was expanding its influence over the Mediterranean world. Cleopatra is often depicted as a seductress, but her most valuable weapon was her intellect. She was a skilled politician who spoke several languages, including Egyptian, a rarity among the Greek Ptolemaic rulers, and she was deeply involved in the day-to-day governance of her kingdom. Cleopatra also presented herself as the reincarnation of the Egyptian goddess Isis, which helped solidify her power and garner support from her people. Interesting fact, Cleopatra was the only member of the Ptolemaic dynasty to learn the Egyptian language, which allowed her to connect with her subjects in ways that her predecessors had not. Another interesting fact is that contrary to the popular image of Cleopatra as solely a beautiful seductress, Roman accounts describe her intelligence and wit as her most captivating features. In fact, Plutarch, a Roman historian, emphasized that Cleopatra's charm lay in her intellect rather than her physical appearance. Arsinoe II, who lived from 316 to 270 BCE, was a co-ruler of Egypt. Before Cleopatra, another powerful woman from the Ptolemaic dynasty left her mark on Egypt. Arsinoe II was the daughter of Ptolemy I, the founder of the Ptolemaic dynasty. She initially married King Lysimachus of Thrace, but after his death, she returned to Egypt and married her brother Ptolemy II Philadelphus, becoming his co-regent. Arsinoe was deified during her lifetime, an honor rarely bestowed upon a living queen. Arsinoe II was a political force to be reckoned with. She played a significant role in her brother husband's administration, advising him on matters of state and foreign policy. Arsinoe II was also known for her military acumen. She supported Ptolemy II's expansionist policies and was instrumental in securing his victory in the First Syrian War, which allowed Egypt to regain control of parts of Syria and Canaan. Arsinoe's influence extended beyond politics and warfare. She was also a patron of the arts and was responsible for several public building projects, including the Lighthouse of Alexandria, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Her deification was part of a larger propaganda campaign that portrayed her as a goddess-like figure, emphasizing her importance in the Ptolemaic dynasty and her connection to the divine. Interesting fact, after her death, Arsinoe II was worshipped as a goddess alongside Isis and Hathor, making her one of the few female rulers in ancient Egypt to achieve divine status. Another interesting fact, Arsinoe II's image appeared on coins not just in Egypt but throughout the Mediterranean, highlighting her importance and influence far beyond the borders of her kingdom. Cleopatra II, who lived from 185 to 116 BCE, was a queen of political intrigue. Another significant but lesser-known ruler from the Ptolemaic dynasty was Cleopatra II, who ruled alongside her brother and husband Ptolemy VIII, and later her daughter Cleopatra III. Her reign was marked by family feuds and political intrigue, as the Ptolemaic dynasty was notorious for internal strife. Cleopatra II's reign saw a series of power struggles between her and her co-rulers. She married her brother Ptolemy VI, and after his death, she married her other brother, Ptolemy VIII, Euergetes II. This alliance did not last long, and the two siblings eventually turned on each other. At one point, Cleopatra II ruled Egypt on her own, and she even declared war on her brother husband, leading to one of the most turbulent periods in Ptolemaic history. Despite the familial conflicts, Cleopatra II was an influential figure in the political landscape of Egypt. She played a key role in maintaining the kingdom's stability during the power struggles and was able to retain control of her kingdom even as her family feuded for power. Interesting fact, Cleopatra II's reign was marked by several civil wars, but she managed to retain power despite the chaos, illustrating her political savvy and resilience. Another interesting fact: Cleopatra II was one of the few queens in ancient history to rule independently, without a male co-ruler, during a brief period in which she expelled her brother husband from the throne. Berenice III, who lived from 120 to 80 BCE, was known as the warrior queen. Finally, we arrive at Berenice III, a queen of Egypt who ruled in her own right during the Ptolemaic period. Known for her political and military prowess, Berenice III took the throne after the assassination of her husband, Ptolemy X. Despite facing challenges from rival claimants to the throne, Berenice managed to maintain her rule for several years. Berenice III's reign was notable for her ability to navigate the complex political landscape of Egypt during a time of instability. She was initially married to Ptolemy X, but after his death she was forced to marry Ptolemy XI, who subsequently had her killed in a bid for power. Her death led to widespread unrest, and the Egyptian people revolted, leading to Ptolemy XI's murder and the installation of Ptolemy XII, Cleopatra VII's father, as pharaoh. Although her reign was cut short, Berenice III's legacy as a strong and capable ruler remains. She was one of the few women in ancient Egypt to rule in her own right, and her political acumen allowed her to maintain power despite the many challenges she faced. Interesting fact: Berenice III is one of the few female rulers of ancient Egypt who actively participated in military campaigns, earning her the nickname the Warrior Queen. Another interesting fact: Berenice III was one of the last queens of Egypt before the fall of the Ptolemaic dynasty, and her death marked the beginning of the end for the Ptolemaic rule in Egypt. As we've seen today, Egypt's forgotten women rulers were far from passive figures. They were warriors, diplomats, builders, and even gods in their own right. From the early days of Merneith to the legendary Cleopatra VII, these women defied the expectations of their time and ruled one of the greatest civilizations in human history. Thank you for watching Infinitia Verity, where we uncover the hidden truths of history. If you enjoyed learning about Egypt's female pharaohs, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the past. And let us know in the comments which female ruler from today's episode would you like to know more about.